Have you ever thought about how scary a little box like this can be? The reason I ask is because recently I've been facing that situation. I took a little box like this and I asked the most significant question that I would ever ask to someone. I was risking everything, knowing that in that moment, my great proposal, this great question, could actually get denied. That you can make yourself completely vulnerable, taking the big risk, and still get a no. Now, I'm also thinking about how scary this box can be to someone that is wanting it, desiring it. As you can see, I'm wearing my Philadelphia Eagles jersey because we are still celebrating in Philly after the Eagles have just won the championship yesterday, defeating the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think about what it's like to be an athlete. I grew up an athlete my entire life, and growing up being an athlete, pursuing the highest levels of competition and wanting ultimately to be a champion means that you have to face the fear of rejection too. At the low levels, when your parents are paying for you to play sports, there's really not much rejection there, right? People want to accept your money and they'll let you play. They're kind of desperate in those situations for someone to show up. So they just really, as long as you have the money, you qualify. And sometimes in relationships, it's the same thing. People will accept something, and you might be guilty of this. I've been guilty of it, where you accept just the bare minimum. You accept just the basic payment. Whatever the minimal payment is, you accept that because you're kind of desperate and you want someone on the team. But as you grow and you rise and you elevate, go to different levels, the bare minimum payment doesn't cut it anymore. Now, I was thinking about the guys in the NFL, how they grew through the ranks and they start to face situations where they're trying to make the team, and it doesn't matter how much money that they can pay, they'll still get cut from the team. They won't make the team if they haven't put in the work or if they're just not the best candidate. If someone that does the evaluation process says this person they have some red flags, they have some issues, those guys or those ladies, they won't make the team. They'll get cut. Someone will say, no, you can come back and maybe try out again at some other point, but right now you don't make the cut. You're not good enough. We don't oftentimes have these kind of dialogues in relationship conversations because it seems mean and it seems like you shouldn't treat someone that way. But I think we could reevaluate things. As a man, I know I do. I in particular think that it's a great idea that people get cut from relationships. That if you aren't good enough, you don't make the team. I think there should be an evaluation process. And get this, when someone's evaluating talent for a sports team, I like sports, so we can talk sports. When someone's evaluating talent for a sports team, it's not oftentimes the one that's going to be in the main relationship with that player. It's not always the coach. Sometimes it's a scout or someone else evaluating the talent. Yeah, the coach will take a look too, but there are other people besides just the teammates that are looking at the talent. It's not just the quarterback looking at the wide receiver saying, oh, I want that wide receiver because, oh, he'll make me look good. No. There are others that evaluate. And I think that's sometimes what we fail to do in relationships. We fail to have other people that can look out for our best interest. So here I am with my box, and I was going to make my scary presentation. But before I did so, one of the things that I did was I went and had a conversation with her father and her brother. And I wanted to express to them my interest. I wanted to give them the opportunity to evaluate and decide if I made the team. I wanted to give them the opportunity to say, no, sir, you're not good enough. Not good enough for our daughter, or not good enough for our sister. Not that I'm not a good person, but I wanted to give them the opportunity. I just think, man to man, face to face, I wanted to express myself. And that's really the way that I was raised. I remember growing up, I wanted to take a young lady out with my family to Chuck E. Cheese. And we were going to go to Chuck E. Cheese and have a good time. And I needed to go and ask her father, could she go with me and my family to Chuck E. Cheese? I needed to let him know what time we were going to pick her up if he said yes, and what time we would bring her back. I needed to give all the details. I needed to let him know who was going with us, who would be in the car. I needed to give all the details. That's how I was raised. And so at this point where I have the box, I'm getting ready to make my scary presentation, I remembered the way that I was trained. And so it was the same thing for me. I happen to think this is appealing. As an athlete, I think this is what athletes do. This is what you do when you want to play and compete at the highest level. And I know someone's probably thinking right now, this isn't competition. This is about a relationship, and this is about love. I get it. But maybe if we took a different, more aggressive approach, sometimes thinking about our relationships in a different way, we could reframe the way we approach them. We might even approach them differently because we have a different perspective. And that's just the way that I operate. I like to think that if you take a principle from any situation and apply it to a different situation, the principle still works. And so whether it's being an athlete or working with horses or working in the gym and training, the principles apply. Whether it's applying the Bible, the principles apply. And I know some people would think, well, the Bible is not real, but principles, they still work. And so I was going to make my scary presentation. And so I presented myself to be evaluated, to be judged. And I got their approval. Part of the reason I got the approval was because they had seen me in action. When players are evaluated, they're evaluated because they are people that are in action. They are on the field. They are doing something. They are putting forth the activity that they are aspiring to, even at a different level. They might be at a lower level, but they're putting in the work. And so for me, I was putting in the work. This father and this brother, they had saw me in action. Most recently because, sadly, just in a few weeks period of time ahead of me having this conversation, their wife, their mom, passed away. But I was there. I was able to be there in the midst of this great tragedy and sorrow. I was able to be there. I was able to serve. I was able to bring some comfort and to hug them and to love them and to just do whatever I could to help. They saw me in action. They saw me being tried by fire. And yet, this is still a scary thing. It was still a scary moment for me to present this box and propose. You see, the proposal was for a greater level. Oftentimes we think the proposal means that you're engaged. I don't think so. I think you need to be engaged before you propose. What does that mean? I think engagement means work. Engagement means you need to be putting in the work before you make the proposal. People think that the proposal means the end or a period of engagement. No. Engagement in a healthy relationship, it happens throughout. It happens ongoing. It's going to happen even after the marriage ceremony, there still needs to be engagement. And so on this channel, as we share, as we talk, I want to talk to you about engagement. I was thinking about the guys that have won the championship, the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll get their championship rings, but they're going to keep working. Even though they've won the ring, they're going to keep working, because now, you know what they're thinking? They're thinking, we can do this again. They are now engaged. Even while they're celebrating, they're engaged in repeating the process of victory. And isn't that what we want in all of our relationships? That we can have our highest of high moments, or experience the tragedy of pain and loss and sorrow and suffering, and yet we could still be engaged in wanting those high moments again, those grand moments. We can want them again. The Kansas City Chiefs, they were in the Super Bowl wanting to three-peat, to win 3 championships in a row. They were denied by the Eagles, but they were working on being the champions 3 times in a row. They kept committing to the process. And so I would challenge you to get engaged. To get engaged and face your scary moments that say, I am proposing a new level. I was afraid a little bit of the proposal. I take that back. It's not true. I wasn't afraid of the proposal. I was afraid of the past. I was afraid that the disappointment of the past would happen again in the future. And the disappointment of the past, the fear of the past repeating itself, had me afraid of the proposal until something happened. Till I had a conversation with myself about faith. My niece and I, we were together. We were at my parents' house, and she was on a ledge, and I was encouraging her to jump down to me. And she was nervous. She was afraid. And she said, well, Uncle Brian, I don't want you to drop me. I said, I'm not going to drop you. If you jump, I'm going to catch you. She said, are you going to catch me for real? Are you going to catch me? You're going to really catch me? I said, I'm going to catch you. I promise I'll catch you. You just jump. I said, you believe me? She said, yes. But she hadn't jumped, which meant she didn't fully believe me just yet. And so she stood there for a moment and she looked at me. I said, go ahead, jump. I'll catch you. And then she kind of gathered herself and worked up her courage. And then she jumped. And I caught her. And she laughed. And then she wanted to do it again. Because she had faith. She put her faith into action. Faith without works is dead. Had she never jumped, she didn't really have faith. But she did jump. And her jumping convicted me when it came down to this box. Because I believed that I could have a great relationship. I hoped, and I even had what I thought was faith for it, because I'd been putting in the effort and the activity, and I'd been there, and we'd been developing this relationship. But when it came to making the proposal, I wasn't jumping. I wasn't jumping at the chance, because I was thinking, what if I fall? What if it doesn't work? And then I thought of my niece and how she jumped. And I asked myself the question, what if you don't fall at all? What if the very thing that you are dreaming about is the thing that you have? What if the greatest experiences that you can picture in your mind are the experiences that you can have? Isn't that worth jumping for? And so I jumped. Myself in this little box. We went and we made a proposal. And we got the answer we were looking for. It wasn't a yes, actually. The answer that we got was, for real, I will marry you. Because there was such shock and disbelief that I was asking. The question kept being asked of me, are you for real? Are you for real? Are you for real, for real? Are you for real, for real? And because I hadn't pulled out the box yet, I was just down on one knee and I was talking and saying what have been described as really wonderful, beautiful words. And I was saying these words and holding her hand, but I hadn't pulled the box out of my pocket. And so she was wondering if I was just being romantic and sweet talking or if this was a real run at this. So I finally remembered to pull out the box and said, yeah, I'm for real. Will you marry me? And she said, for real, I will. In her own way, she gave her own yes. And the reason I share this with you is because there are going to be many more stories that follow this. And I'll share with you my experiences about becoming this man and having the dream of love that I envision. The work that goes with it. I'll share with you some, what I think are some cool ways of approaching relationships. But I share this with you today so that you would evaluate the little box in your life that might be scaring you. What's the thing that you really want that is so wonderful that the past wants to scare you out of it? Because this isn't really what's scaring you. It's the past trying to talk you out of it. And if you do not silence the past, you'll never have the potential of seeing the beauty of what's in the box. So it's time to get out of the box. Take a leap of faith. Do the scary thing and enjoy the breath that is within your lungs. Thanks so much for being here. You can hit the like button if you have enjoyed this, if this blessed you in some kind of way. You could share it with someone. We will do much more talking. I would even encourage you, if there's a part of this that has stood out to you, put a comment. Drop a comment and let's start a dialogue about overcoming the fear so that we can embrace the experiences of life that are meant for us, the opportunities that are there. Don't live life alone. Let's start conversation. Let's have a conversation and let's live life more abundantly. Thanks for being here. I'm B.A. Sheppard, 2 P's, A-R-D. I'll see you next time.